All right, guys, let's talk Drak plank elevon shape. We'll talk about the non-rocket science method here. We got about 24 inches of length, just under, a little bit. Basically, once you pull it out here, it's going to be a little bit less than 24. So, what we're doing here, as a generic shape, as we've been using on some of the other Draks, is we got about 2.5 inches of straightness at the end here, and then at about 2.5 inches, we taper it all the way down to about 3/8. Like if you had a straight edge on here, you got 3/8 of an inch in at about 14.5 inches. So coming across here, after you're cut this angle, you got 2.5 inches of straight, then you got taper coming down all the way down to 14.5 inches, and then this amount in at that point is about 3/8 of an inch, just a tad under 1/2 an inch. And then at that point, you end up going out to the end. I think you got what, another, out to the end, you got about 8.5, 9 inches, which is fine. And then when it comes out here, you got about 1 inch of straight at the end before the taper starts to hit that. So a good way to do it is take a measurement from here out to 2.5, draw a line after you make a dot here, holding a straight edge in 3/8 of an inch. And then same thing here, come out 1 inch, draw a line to that dot. And what I usually do is take a razor and I make multiple passes across there and cut it off. At this end, you can see I have it tapered in, so when you're going up and down and you're articulating while you're flying, it's not hitting the winglet. And the same here. When you have the vertical fence on the side of the aircraft here, I have it a little bit off to the side, so when you're moving it up and down, you're not articulating into the actual wing fence. So you can see I use 9 gram or 12 gram servos in here. You know, you can use the park servos, which like the 225 MGs would work really good. I put them at a little bit of an angle on here. Kept them nice and small, just kept them 90 degree with it, and used easy links. Worked really good. These servos work really good, but I suggest if you are going to be swapping wings, or you're going to be building this and using the other wing sets, get a servo that's equivalent to that same size servo, whether it's that servo or something equivalent to it, so you at least have about the same amount of throw, so your resolution is you know, about the same. When it comes to the bottom of the elevon, you can see here, as I was shaping it, I lightly rolled the bottom of it. Just rolled it with the sanding block, just so your elevon is not hanging below your aircraft. So you're basically across here and you're not hanging below the aircraft in flight. I cut a pocket in there for the servo wires, so you have a place to tuck your servo wires in. And then out of the side of the aircraft itself, and right out of the side of the winglet, I also do the same thing on the other ones too. But out of the side of the winglet, we have a divot in the winglet that allows you to have a servo wire go through it. So at that exact point in the back of that bay, I take and I put a servo extension that stubs out of the side of the fuselage and goes directly into here, so this guy can plug in, and then you have a little area where everything can fold back in. The Velcro was put on after. I lined up where it was, I drew a line, I cut it out, I cut the EPP out of there, I dropped the Velcro in, fuzzy side down, and put a little bit of hot glue on the bottom of it. Then I you know, pushed it down, got it going, put a little bit of hot glue on the top, smeared it across, and then put a piece of lamb on it. And that basically locks that in there. You can tell I've been flying this wing for a while. It's a little bit, you know, got a little bit scars on it from landing out in the bushes and the rocks and the stuff out here, but we love this aircraft. Now, I'm gonna show you what I mean when it comes to the servo pocket. I can actually pull this apart on the mini Drak. You can see how this plugs in. Boom. Then you see the servo extension in there. It comes right out of the side of the bay, out of the back of the bay, and it extends through there as a servo extension in through this pocket on here like I was talking. So this is a laser cut pocket. this ends up coming through, and then when everything folds together in here, it all Z turns, a couple S turns, and goes right in, and then this plugs right into the winglet. So instead of having to run your wires all the way into your flight controller or into your receiver, which means every time you cartwheel this aircraft, and if you have a wing fly off or something happens, usually the wire rips and bends the forks on the receiver or the vector, or it'll rip the wire directly out of your servo, and then you got to replace it. But if this happens, you only have this wire plugged in, and if this wing flies off or something happens, or for just taking it apart in general, it's a lot better method to have this on there, because then once it's like that, you basically get it lined up and you press it together. So, and then you know basically pull the Velcro together. So you got an area where everything can tuck in, and it works out really, really well. And that's basically what we've done here. So the wire itself can plug right at the very back of the bay, plugs directly into the aircraft, and you're done. And that's about it. There's a nice, very used already plank wing.